When I was 12, we moved to an old farmhouse on the outskirts of town. The house itself was quite unattractive, painted horrible shades of pink and green and poorly renovated by the previous owners. It wasn't the house that my parents had purchased the property for, though. It was the land. We had horses, and my mother had been looking for a place where we could keep them on the property with us. This old farmhouse happened to be the only place available within their price range. It was cheap because the previous owner was dying of cancer. His wife had also recently left him, and he wanted to sell quickly. We all noticed that the house had a sad, dark energy, but assumed it was connected to what had happened to the people living there before us. We immediately got to work pulling out all the dead grapevines and started to put up stables and paddocks for the horses. It wasn't long before the activity started. At first it was little things, like seeing a shadow out the corner of your eye, or having stuff go missing and then reappear in random places. Then it progressed to people constantly being locked in the bathroom, even after the locks and doorknob had been changed. One night I woke up and saw my mother come into my room. She walked over to the side of my bed and started playing with the beads on the lampshade. Then she just turned around and walked out without saying anything. The next morning I asked my mum if she had been sleepwalking. I thought that would explain her strange behaviour the night before. She said that she knew she hadn't been sleepwalking since she'd hardly slept that night. A few weeks later, I was woken up by someone or something violently grabbing me by the wrists and pulling me upright. I hit my head on something, but I don't know what. I sat there scared and confused for a minute before running off to the lounge room and falling back to sleep on the couch. There was a feeling of being watched in the lounge room, but it felt safe. The next incident occurred one day when I was coming in from feeding the horses. I saw my mum standing in the corner of the kitchen and went to ask what we would be having for dinner. As soon as I started talking, she looked up, then disappeared. Then a couple of Tupperware containers went flying across the room. I ran outside to look for my parents and found them both doing yard work. I told them what had happened. They believed me but didn't know what to say or do. Most of the activity occurred inside the house, but there were two separate occasions where my mother and I both experienced being chased by a swarm of bees that vanished into thin air. The inside of the house was always freezing cold, even in the summer. I started to see flashes of a battered woman when entering certain rooms, particularly my bedroom. I asked my mum to get a reading done on the house and she agreed. The medium didn't stay long, but she said there were both good and bad entities in the home. Most visitors we had never stayed very long. There was one time I had a friend over and we were in my room playing a board game. My cat was asleep on the bed. He suddenly woke up and looked towards the wardrobe, then hissed and ran off. The wardrobe then started to shake. My dad went to have a look but couldn't find anything that might have caused it. When I was 15, I started to have episodes of sleep paralysis. The last time that it happened before moving out of the property was the most traumatic. I had been researching demonology. I'm not sure if this had any connection to the experience, but looking back I feel like it was a bad idea. I woke up in the early hours of the morning, unable to move. Up until this point, I had never experienced hallucinations during sleep paralysis. I was laying on my side, holding onto a pillow. The pillow started to get really warm, and then it morphed into a featureless shadow man. I still couldn't move, but tears started to stream down my face. I closed my eyes, not wanting to look at the shadow man. I felt it slowly lick my tears, and then it shrank back down into the pillow. I heard my dad come home from work and knew it must have been around 4 a.m. When I heard him walking down the hallway past my bedroom, I tried to call out, but I still couldn't move or talk. When I could finally move again, I quickly got up and went out to the lounge room. My dad was there having breakfast and watching the morning news. He asked me if I was okay. I didn't know what to say and told him I'd just had a bad dream. I know there is a medical explanation for sleep paralysis, but I have never experienced it again since moving out of that house, except for one other occasion, but that's another story. I can't help but wonder if there is a paranormal aspect with some cases of sleep paralysis.